Imagine your life as a lit candle. You've spent decades shielding it from the wind, making sure it never went out, all while giving light to everyone around you. But now that this flame should finally be yours, others come trying to blow it out with demands, guilt, and expectations you never asked for. How much longer are you going to allow it? Many people reach this stage in life thinking they still have to keep sacrificing themselves for others, even if it means losing their peace, their time, and even their dignity. But today, I want to tell you something that maybe no one has said clearly enough. There are things you should never give up for anyone, and if you don't start setting boundaries now, you might never do it. In this video, we're going to talk about the 7 things you should never sacrifice, no matter what, because as long as you're still breathing, every day still belongs to you. And the last lesson might completely change the way you see your own life. My name is Gabriel, and this is the Stoic Garden. Stick around till the end. This is something you need to hear. When was the last time you truly enjoyed a peaceful day without anyone making you feel guilty about it? I'm not talking about fleeting moments, those brief instants of calm before a call comes in, an unexpected favor is asked, or a comment leaves you feeling like you're not doing enough. I mean real deep peace, the kind you should be experiencing by now, but that you might have been giving up without even noticing. Guilt is a poison that disguises itself as duty. We were taught to be useful, to give everything for our family, to always be available without question. And it's okay to care for the people we love. But where's the line between love and exhaustion? When was the last time someone asked what you need? The uncomfortable truth is that if you don't draw a line, there will always be someone expecting more from you, no matter how much you've already given. And the worst part is, often it's not even others demanding it. It's your own mind, shaped by years of believing that saying "I can't" or "I don't want to today" is selfish. I remember a woman I met a few years ago, Linda, 72 years old, and full of an energy anyone would envy. But when she spoke, her voice carried a tiredness that had nothing to do with age and everything to do with the weight of other people's burdens. Her grown children still saw her as an extension of their childhood, the one who was always there to fix things, to help, to sacrifice without expecting anything in return. One day, after taking her grandson to the doctor because the parents had to work, cooking dinner for her daughter because she was too tired, and handing over money she needed for her own treatment because they needed it more, she collapsed into her chair, soul worn out. She looked at me and said, "I don't know when I became someone everyone owes, but no one gives anything back to." Her story isn't unique. How many times have you kept quiet to avoid making waves? How often have you put off your own rest just to be available for others? Marcus Aurelius said peace doesn't come from the outside, but from within. But if your life is filled with the anxiety of trying to meet everyone's expectations, you'll never find the calm you so deeply crave. This isn't about becoming cold or abandoning the people you love. It's about understanding that peace isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. And if you don't give it to yourself, no one else will. Saying, "Today is for me," isn't selfish. It's survival. Because if you keep allowing yourself to be treated like an endless resource, one day you'll realize there's nothing left for you. You didn't make it this far in life just to live in constant guilt. You didn't walk through decades just so others could decide how you spend your time, your money, or your energy. It's time to take back what's yours, to stop apologizing for needing rest, and to claim the peace you've denied yourself for far too long. Because if you don't protect your peace, no one else will. Peace can only be preserved when you're the one in charge of your own life, when you don't let others decide what you can or cannot do. But this is where many people stumble, where society and old habits start pushing older adults into a quiet corner. We've arrived at the second key point of this video. Your independence, that freedom you should never give up out of fear of what others might think. There's a mistake many people make when they reach a certain age. They start acting as if they need permission to live. Family, friends, even strangers suddenly feel entitled to tell you what you should do, how to dress, what decisions to make, as if your ability to think and decide for yourself faded with time. And the real danger isn't what they say. It's when you start believing it, when you begin to doubt yourself, when you start to think maybe they're right when they say it's too late to learn something new, to move to another city, to travel alone, or even to fall in love again. But let me ask you this. When did you stop being the owner of your life? When did you accept that your opinion mattered less than everyone else's? Independence isn't lost all at once. It slips away little by little with every decision you hand over to someone else. With every better not say anything, with every why start an argument, with every time you choose silence just to avoid being called stubborn or difficult. People get used to making decisions for you when you stop raising your voice. Epictetus taught that freedom begins in the mind. It doesn't matter how old you are, you're still a human being with the right to choose how you want to live your life. But independence isn't just a philosophical idea, it's something you practice every day, with every small decision you make. It means that if you want to try something new, you do it without waiting for anyone's approval. If someone treats you like you're incapable, you show them you're still perfectly capable of standing on your own. If they expect you to follow certain rules just because that's how life is at your age, you have the courage to say, "That's not my life." I've seen too many people surrender to other people's opinions and end up living a life that isn't truly theirs. People who wanted to sell their house and move somewhere quieter, but their children talked them out of it because, what if we need it later? Men and women who wanted to start a new project, but were made to feel ridiculous for dreaming at their age. How many dreams have you tucked away because someone else made you doubt yourself? The fear of what people will say is an invisible cage, but it's real. And the hardest part is, sometimes it's your own family who pushes you into it. Not because they're unkind, but because they're used to seeing you in a way that no longer reflects who you really are. Maybe they see you as fragile when you're not. Maybe they think you need help, when all you really need is space to be yourself. I'm not saying it's easy. Reclaiming your independence means facing those surprised looks when you say, "This is what I want." It means learning to ignore the comments that try to make you second-guess yourself. But tell me, what would you rather have? A life where others tell you what to do, or one where you can look back and say, "I stayed true to myself until the very end"? No matter how old you are, your life is still yours. And if someone tries to convince you that you should live it by their rules, remember this: those who live to please others die feeling like they never truly lived. If you let others make decisions for you, little by little, they'll push you into a life that doesn't truly belong to you. We've already talked about the importance of protecting your peace and holding on to your independence. But now we've reached the third point, and this is where many people stumble without even realizing it: the time you sacrifice for obligations that were never yours to begin with. We grow up believing that being constantly available is a virtue, that putting off what we want to do in order to help others is an act of love. And yes, there are moments when being there for the people we care about is absolutely worth it. But there's a difference between helping and living in a constant state of giving, where your time becomes a currency that everyone spends, except you. How many times have you cancelled your plans because someone needed something? How often have you stayed home waiting for a visit that never happened? How many hours have you wasted in empty conversations with people who only show up when it's convenient for them? Time is the one thing you can never get back, yet it's usually the first thing we give away without thinking. Seneca put it plainly: it's not that we have too little time, but that we waste so much of it. And that's the key. No one will return the time you give. No matter how much love or gratitude you expect in return, the truth is, many people have gotten used to you always being there without ever feeling the need to say thank you, and if you don't value your time, neither will they. If you want to regain control of your life, there's one strategy you need to start using today. Say no without guilt. It sounds simple, but for many, it feels nearly impossible. We've been taught that saying no is inconsiderate, selfish, that it means turning our backs on those who need us. But look closer, and you'll see there's a big difference between being generous and being everyone's go-to person by default. The next time someone asks you for something, instead of answering right away, pause and ask yourself, do I want to do this, or am I just saying yes to avoid feeling bad? If it's the second, there's your answer. I know a man named Henry, 71 years old, retired and ready to travel and enjoy his free time. But every week, his phone would ring with some new request from family. Dad, can you pick up my test results? Uncle, could you help me with this paperwork? Hey neighbor, since you're home, could you receive a package for me? None of these things was a huge burden on its own, but together, they stole entire days from him. And whenever he tried to say no, the response was always something like, well, if you can't, it's okay. But said in that tone that clearly meant it wasn't okay, that they'd guilt him, make him feel like wanting time for himself was some kind of betrayal. Henry learned to set boundaries with a simple phrase, I can't right now, but tell me another option. It wasn't a harsh no, but it sent a clear message. His time mattered too. At first, some people were annoyed, but over time, they stopped treating him like an unlimited resource and began to respect his space. And for the first time in years, he started enjoying his days without feeling like he needed to justify them. This isn't about becoming indifferent or cutting off people who truly matter. It's about choosing where your remaining hours are best spent. Because when the day comes that you look back on your life, it won't be your mistakes you regret. It'll be all the time you gave away to other people's demands instead of using it for yourself. If this part of the video is resonating with you, I'd love for you to leave a comment with the phrase, "My time matters," and tell me which country you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep growing together as a community of people determined to live with purpose. Stick around until the end, because the final lesson might completely change the way you see the years still ahead of you. If you've made it this far, you already know your time is irreplaceable, and that every minute you give away without thinking is another step toward a life that doesn't truly feel like yours. But there's something else you need to protect just as fiercely, because losing it is even worse than losing time. We've now reached the fourth point of this video, your health, that essential foundation so many people sacrifice in the name of pleasing others. One of the most common mistakes at this stage of life is believing that taking care of yourself is a luxury, or worse, a sign of weakness. Why worry so much about what I eat? I've already lived enough. At my age, there's no point in starting to exercise. If it hurts, I'll deal with it. I don't want to be a burden. And with small phrases that seem harmless, you start surrendering your well-being, handing your body over to resignation, as if being alive were enough, no matter the quality of that life. But let me ask you this. What good is fighting for your independence if your body can't support it? What's the use of having all the time in the world if you don't have the energy to enjoy it? There's a mental trap that many people fall into at this age, the idea that the body is already in decline, that nothing you do now will make a real difference. That mindset is a slow poison. Because once you believe nothing can improve, you stop trying. That's how small discomforts turn into chronic pain, how lack of movement becomes stiffness, how apathy leads to illness. It's not age that disables you, it's the accumulation of neglect. Seneca said, "A life without discipline is a premature death." And he was right. Because when you stop taking care of your body, you're signing away your autonomy little by little, until one day you realize you need help for even the simplest things. I've seen this pattern too many times. People who are strong and active their whole lives, but once they reached a certain age, they let comfort, fatigue, or indifference win the battle. They didn't realize strength doesn't disappear overnight. It fades with each decision to stay seated instead of moving. With every day they ignored their nutrition. With every night they treated insomnia as just part of aging instead of a problem to be solved. And when they finally wake up to it, often it's too late, because regaining what's been lost takes twice the effort it would have taken to maintain it. But here's the truth. It's never too late to take back control. Maybe you can't run like you used to, but you can still walk. Maybe you can't spend hours being active, but you can move enough to keep your body alive and alert. Maybe you can't change the past, but you can decide that from today on, every choice you make will be an act of self-respect. Eating better isn't a luxury, it's a tool for independence. Sleeping well isn't an unrealistic demand, it's an investment in your mental clarity. Moving your body each day isn't meaningless effort, it's what determines whether you live freely or rely on others for every step. The real trap isn't aging, it's believing there's no point in trying anymore. But tell me this, if you were certain things could still get better, wouldn't you try? Then start now, not out of vanity, not to meet anyone else's standards, but because your body is the only vehicle you have to travel through the rest of your life, and every day you choose to ignore it is a day you lose the chance to truly live. If your body is your only home in this life, then your dreams are the fire that keeps it alive. But this is where many people, without even realizing it, begin to let that fire go out, not because they no longer have dreams, but because they've bought into the lie that there's an age when dreaming no longer makes sense. We've reached the fifth point in this video, and it's exactly that. Your dreams, the ones you should never give up, just because someone told you it's too late. This kind of thinking settles into the mind quietly. It doesn't come with a warning, and it doesn't feel like a conscious decision. It happens when you keep postponing what you truly want to do, when you tell yourself someday you'll pick up that instrument again, write that book, learn that language, or travel to that place you've always dreamed of. Then one day, you look back and realize time has passed, that you gave up without noticing, that what could have been never happened, because you convinced yourself it was already too late. But tell me, who decides when it's too late? Who told you that dreams have an expiration date? The problem is that society pushes older people into a state of waiting for others to have time for you, waiting for someone to invite you to do something, waiting for the right moment. And in that waiting, life slips away. The saddest thing isn't not reaching a dream, it's convincing yourself you never had the right to one. The consequences of this mindset are heartbreaking. A person who stops dreaming becomes someone who's merely surviving. The spark in their eyes fades, the days lose their meaning, and the hope for what's ahead disappears. And when that happens, life becomes a repetitive cycle of nostalgia and regret. Look around you. How many people do you know who talk more about the past than the present? Who light up when remembering what they once wanted to do, but now sadly say, "I can't anymore"? What's holding them back isn't age, it's resignation. But here's the truth that few people dare to say: you still can. Whether you're 60, 70, or older, you can still take the wheel and decide that your story isn't over. Always wanted to paint? Buy a canvas today. Dreamed of learning another language? Start with one word. Always wanted to travel alone? You don't have to cross the world, just step outside your routine. This isn't about making huge changes overnight. It's about finally stopping the habit of postponing what deep down you know would make you feel alive. Marcus Aurelius said, "It's ridiculous to avoid doing something out of fear of failure when life itself is uncertain." And that's exactly what you need to understand today. There are no guarantees, no extra time waiting for you down the road. But one thing is certain: if you don't try, the chance dies with you. So tell me, what have you been putting off? What dream have you left tucked away in the back of your mind? Don't wait for someone to give you permission. You don't need approval. You don't need more time than you already have. What you need is to decide, not to sacrifice another single day inside the prison of resignation, because as long as you're still breathing, you still have the right and the responsibility to live. If you give up on your dreams, if you convince yourself that the time to want something has passed, you condemn yourself to a life on pause. But now we come to something even more painful, something few people have the courage to say out loud. We've reached the sixth point of this video: your dignity, that irreplaceable value you should never sacrifice out of fear of being alone. Picture this: you wake up one morning and, out of habit, check your phone. No messages, no one has called in days. You get up, do what you always do, make coffee in the same corner of the kitchen, glance out the window, maybe turn on the TV just to fill the silence. For years, you gave everything to others. You sacrificed your well-being, put everyone else first, gave up your space, your energy, your time. But now that you need someone, where are they? How many times have you felt like you only matter when you're useful? Life is cruel to those who believe love can be earned through sacrifice. We were taught that giving everything for family is the right thing to do. That enduring disrespect is a sign of strength. That we should be understanding when our children don't call, when friends forget us, when a partner stops looking at us with the same respect they once had. But tell me, how many more times are you going to let it happen? How many more times will you allow yourself to be spoken to like you don't have a voice, to be ignored like you no longer have the right to exist with strength and presence? Dignity is the one thing that once lost is almost impossible to get back. And it doesn't disappear all at once. It fades in small moments. In those times, you let a hurtful comment slide. In the favors you do without even getting a thank you. In the endless patience, no one seems to give back to you. It fades when you accept loneliness just to avoid asking for the respect you deserve. It fades when you stay in relationships where you're not valued just because you're afraid of being alone. But let me tell you something. The worst kind of loneliness isn't being alone. It's being surrounded by people who make you feel invisible. I've seen far too many people reach the end of their lives full of regret, not for what they did, but for what they allowed. Women who spent years swallowing disrespect in their marriages because they thought that's just how it is at this age. Men who became shadows in their own families, used when needed, forgotten when not. But I've also seen the other side, people who one day decided to reclaim their place, who stopped asking for permission to be treated with respect, who learned to be with themselves instead of begging for attention. And those people, no matter their age, found something most never will: true freedom. If you realize today that you've been sacrificing your dignity out of fear of being alone, I want you to think about this. What do you prefer? A life where you walk with your head held high, even if it means letting go of certain people, or one where you settle for scraps of affection just to avoid facing your own reflection in the mirror? Because in the end, the respect others show you is only a reflection of the respect you give yourself, and if you don't start reclaiming it today, no one else ever will. If you've made it this far, it's because deep down, you know it's time for a change. We've talked about the peace you shouldn't give away, the independence no one should take from you, the time you've handed out without question, the health so many abandon, the dreams you buried too soon, and the dignity you should never trade. But there's something else, something that, if you lose it, you lose everything. We've come to the seventh and final point of this video: your faith in life, the one thing you should never sacrifice for the sake of what you've already lost. There's an invisible weight many people carry on their shoulders, the weight of years gone by, of chances they didn't take, of people who left, of choices they can't undo. They wake up each day not with the intention to live, but simply to keep existing, to go through the motions without expecting anything new. Hope slowly fades until one day they stop seeing the future as a place worth going. But tell me, who told you there are no chapters left to write? Who convinced you that the best part of your life is already behind you? The greatest mistake you can make is believing that the past defines what's left of your story. Maybe you missed opportunities. Maybe there are people who aren't coming back, moments that won't return, mistakes you can't fix. But as long as you're here, as long as you're breathing, you still have the chance to create something with what remains. There's not a single story in this world that ends before its final page is written. And yours is still open. But faith in life isn't about sitting back and hoping something good will happen. It's about choosing to see what is instead of what's missing. It's about waking up each morning with the decision to make that day count, even in the smallest way. It's about understanding that the meaning of life doesn't come from what you achieve, but from how you choose to live what you have left. Seneca said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." That's the key. Life doesn't stop unless you decide to stop living it. So today, I want you to make a choice. You can keep mourning what's gone, stay stuck in fear of what's coming, and resign yourself to just waiting for the end. Or you can take this moment as a new beginning, as proof that there's still something inside you that wants more, that wants to live with purpose, that refuses to give up what's still yours just because of what's already gone. Because the real tragedy isn't growing old, it's losing faith in the idea that every day still holds something meaningful. And if you give that up, then you've sacrificed the one thing that truly made life worth living. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you has been stirred. You're not someone who just drifts through life without questioning anything. Most people aren't willing to face these truths because it's easier to stay in the comfort of excuses than to look directly at what's really going on. But you're still here. And that means you still have that spark of willpower, the kind that sets apart those who choose to live with intention from those who let time slowly consume them. Now you know what you should never sacrifice for anyone, what's truly yours and what is absolutely priceless. The question is, are you going to do something with that knowledge or let it fade away as just another passing thought? The choice is yours. You can ignore this message and keep giving away your peace, your independence, your time, your health, your dreams, your dignity, and your faith in life, until one day you look back and realize there's nothing left of who you used to be, or you can start today. Reclaim what's yours. Set boundaries. Choose yourself without fear and without guilt. It won't be easy, but tell me, what's the better path? Keep living in the shadow of what others expect from you, or take control of what remains. I want you to leave a comment with the phrase, "My life belongs to me," and tell me which country you're watching from. It's more than just a symbolic gesture. It's a declaration that you're ready to take the first step to make every day count instead of letting it disappear into routine and resignation. My name is Gabriel, and this is the Stoic Garden, a space where we don't sugarcoat reality, we face it with clear minds and strong will. If this message resonated with you, subscribe and join this community of people who have chosen to live with purpose. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it, because sometimes hearing the right truth at the right time can change the course of a life. Don't let the conversation end here. There's more to uncover, more ideas that can transform the way you see the world and how you move through it. Watch the videos on screen and keep walking this path of clarity, strength, and true freedom. I'll see you in the next one.